This is a CardGamesTV1 podcast, episode 10. So, what card games companies should do with the booster sets. So these are just like my thoughts of how the booster sets, should be, how card games should be managed. So, first thing is that it's a game, these are games, right? These are card games, right? You're supposed to make it where people can get the cards necessary to play the game. So an idea I've always had was the idea that at most, the way it should be, a booster box, the way I used to think it was that they created a set, right? Let's say they made a 300 card set, so they create 300 unique cards for a specific set. And I thought the way they do it is that they would get those, print as many copies of the cards, right? They'll grab all 300 cards in the individual separate cards, right? Then shuffle them up, randomize them, and then put them in packs until they add up to 24 packs. I'm thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragon Ball is 36 packs, I think, something like that. But it doesn't matter. The point is, the cards fit into each pack, so you have enough packs and make a box, and then that's what it is. So if you buy the one booster box, you get all 300 cards. You get one copy of each card that comes from the set. So let's say the set comes with four. Since I'm talking about Dragon Ball Super, comes with what would it be? One. Let's say, since it's one of every card, if there's 4 SCRs, you get all 4 SCRs, for example, will come in the set. Will come in that one box. So, but if you don't buy the box, when you buy a couple packs, you randomly would get whatever is in those packs, which comes from the 300 card selection, right? So there's a potential to get a really, really nice card, or a couple of really nice cards in the same pack. Imagine pulling 2 out of the 4 SCRs that comes in the set. You get 2 of them in one pack. That'd be epic, right? So that'd be pretty cool. But the thing is, if you buy the box, you guarantee all the cards anyway, so, it depends, right? If you buy a pack, you're paying a lot less, right? And you could get that really cool Cell Zeno, right? But you bought one pack. If you buy the whole box, you're guaranteed the Cell Zeno, but, you're paying the premium of the box. So let's say the box costs $100 or $200 to get the box. All right, you're paying $100 to $200 to guarantee a Cell Zeno, plus every other card that comes in the set, right? Which, to many people, that's worth it, right? That makes sense. You're paying $100 to between $100 to $200 for a box. You deserve to get the good shit in there, right? Because you paid for it. Remember, again, these are pieces of paper. These are cardboard, right? These are not worth the ridiculous price tags that they have, because their physical value, what they're made of, is not worth that, right? But whatever, supply and demand, right? We get it. But the thing is that, it makes sense to pay a lot if you're guaranteed something. It doesn't make sense to pay a lot for not guaranteed something, right? For randomness. Now, I understand it as an individual box. I mean, like when you buy individual packs, that, again, I like the idea of randomness because of the potential of you getting some really cool stuff. Plus, it allows you to do the trade thing, because if other people are buying packs from that same box, then y'all could trade and this and that. It's like, I got this SCR, I'll trade you for that SCR, that kind of stuff. That'd be cool. That's the way it should be. That's how it always seemed like it was supposed to be. And then, maybe at some point in time, when Magic started doing it first, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! Started copying. Maybe it was like that at first, where if you bought one box, you literally got one copy of every card. But we noticed that over time, they started making it where the ratios were different, where there was more copies of a specific, specific cards. A lot of commons, a lot of, which we call bulk. So they start filling up these packs with bulk. So now, when you get a really good card, like when you open up a pack, you might get lucky. You get one really good card, and the rest of the cards are trash. Right? Bulk, as they say, right? It's like fillers. It's like, damn. So pretty much now, I'm not paying money for a stack of good cards or cards that come in the set. Random cards that come from that specific 300 card set. So I could pull really, really good, for $5 or however much the packs cost, right? No. I'm paying $5, let's say, for a pack, just to definitely guarantee bulk, because the thing is filled with mostly bulk, and then just maybe one decent card that might be worth the $5 I paid for. But on average, it tends to be something that's not worth what you pay for. You might get a nice shiny card, but the card's only worth $1. You paid $5 for the pack. Is that fair? Does that make sense? No. Obviously, you can get the same similar result if you were to, do the whole 300 card set, randomize them into one box. You might buy a pack for $5 and get a whole bunch of like commons and uncommons. A whole bunch of non-shiny cards. You have a whole pack where none of the cards are foil, none of the cards are hollow. That is possible, but you could also get a pack that has a lot of hollows. That's also possible. But like I said, ultimately, if you buy the whole box, you get everything, so it's not that big of a deal, right? It's not that bad of a trade-off. Because the thing is, it's a decision. It's like, if you choose to try to be, you choose to pay less, or you can only afford less, well, you know what happens when you pay less, right? You get what you pay for, right? You pay less, you have less chance of getting something good. But if you pay more, you should get good, right? So that's why when you buy a whole box, you should get all the cards. When you buy 1 or 2 packs, maybe you'll get lucky and get really, really good stuff, or you'll get the mediocre stuff. Hey, you only paid $5 to $10 to get 2 packs, right? So shouldn't be too surprised that you didn't get some super amazing thing. But the thing I hate is that the way they make the boxes, they have it set up where large majority of the packs are trash. 1 or 2 in the box is where the good stuff is at, and that's fucked up, because then you're creating a lottery-like situation, which it shouldn't be the case. Somebody buys a pack, they should get something good. I remember one time there was in Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, I use Yu-Gi-Oh! As an example. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There was a thing called Premium Pack, and I thought it was a lot like every other pack. Like every other booster set. So, what happened? I bought 6 packs, I think it was. But what was ironic is that I didn't know that these packs specifically came with, I think those packs come with, 10 cards per pack? So 10 or 9. Anyway, I think it was 9 cards. But there were 9 specific cards. That means all 6 packs had the exact same cards. I did not know that. And it's like, oh. So in reality, all I had to do was buy 3 so I could have a play set of every card. That was cool, but since I was so used to the packs just randomly having a whole bunch of different stuff, that I was like, I'll buy 6 and get a whole bunch of different stuff. But instead I ended up getting essentially pretty much 2 play sets of everything, when I only needed 1 play set of everything. So, but the extra play sets, obviously I traded them off, so it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just surprising, like, oh snap, they actually can do this. They actually can make it where every pack has the same cards. So all I need is 3 if I need 3 copies of a card, and that's awesome because 1, it was worth the money. It was worth paying for it, because I guarantee I get stuff that I want, and I was looking for specific cards, so it was awesome that I got the specific cards. And then, like I said, it was worth the money because I'm getting what I want. I know what I'm getting, now, right? After I open them, I'm like, okay, I get every card. Awesome. So I know what I'm getting, and I could, and it was worth paying for it because I get what I want, and whatever extra I had that I didn't want, at least I had play sets that I could trade to other people. And then trading, is a thing. And that's another thing, is trading card games are becoming less trading cards and they're more just card games. Like the trading part of the game is being left out because it's just like I give you money for cards, and part of the problem is because of scarcity, because of printing cards and making them hard to get, where which is a contradiction. Imagine if I bought a box of playing cards and I open the box and literally the whole box is full of jokers. It's like, wait, I'm supposed to have 52 individual cards, right? 52 cards to play poker or rummy or whatever, or spades or whatever, blackjack, whatever game I want, right? I'm supposed to have a whole bunch of different cards, but instead the whole box is full of joker cards. That's a waste of money. I would not have bought a box full of joker cards. I would have bought a box that had a whole bunch of, had kings, queen, jacks, and all that stuff. Right? So the idea that we, companies and even legislations and stuff are allowing the idea of like, yeah, these boxes, these products can be random. It's like, no. I understand lottery tickets being random, but again, that's gambling. Why are booster boxes, packs, stuff that has to do with a game random? And on top of that is the fact that these are supposed to be boosters, right? The idea of the term boost, right? The idea is to boost, which means I should be able to buy and upgrade whatever I'm playing with what I buy, which means I should be able to buy a pack that specifically has cards in it that I can boost my deck with. It shouldn't, the stuff that's in the pack shouldn't be random, that I'm not guaranteed to get what I need to boost my deck. It's not really boosting my deck if the cards in there are not generic enough, right? Not specific enough for my needs. In Dragon Ball Super, for example, if I play in a blue deck, then I'm gonna need blue packs, right? I'm gonna need packs that have blue cards. Even if you're still gonna make them random, even though I disagree with the idea of randomizing, if you're gonna still do it, at least packs that like blue. Randomly get blue cards in one pack, randomly get red cards in another pack, and so forth and so forth. And have an assortment. That way, if I'm like, okay, I just need blue cards, I'm looking for some specific blue cards, I'll just buy the blue packs. Because, the blue cards that I want from the set will more likely come in those blue packs. I don't want to buy random, 2 random packs, and it turns out that one has a lot of green cards and one has a lot of yellow cards, and it's like, but I played blue. This was a waste of money. This was a waste of time for me to buy these packs and then not get what I need. Because we don't play these games randomly. Like we don't play the card games randomly. We play the card games specifically. We like to build things and do things specifically. We like to create. It's hard to create when you got random junk. We need specific stuff. If I'm trying to create a Hatchiyack deck, right, then I want all the stuff that I need to make a Hatchiyack deck, or a Bulma deck, or a what large type is out there, King Vegeta deck or something. I need the card specifically for it. I don't want random stuff that don't work together. That makes no sense. Like, to a certain degree, I can understand that concept of randomness for draft boxes, for draft sets, so people can draft and be able to build decks, with random assortments of generic cards, and be able to create something on a whim, and that's cool. But when it comes to just general purpose, when it comes to people, buying into a set, they should be able to buy a whole bunch of packs and get a whole bunch of good stuff that they can use. As well as, if they want to buy a box, they can buy a box, right? Or 2 boxes and get a whole bunch of stuff. Because ultimately, it would be nice if if I could just buy 4 boxes of a set. Supreme Rivalry is the new set coming out, so let's say I should be able to buy at maximum just 4 boxes and get every card in the set, 4 copies of each. Let's say there are 4 SCRs per box. Of course they're all different, but since I bought 4 boxes, I have 4 copies of each SCR. Well, if they're, obviously if they're SCRs, they're more likely ultimates. Therefore, I don't need more than 1 copy. So all the extra 3 copies of each SCRs I can trade or sell to somebody else. But it won't be for an extremely high, ridiculous price because of the fact that it wasn't that hard to get, since I just bought boxes and they automatically came in there. So this is the way it's supposed to be. Because what's extra weird, right? Extra weird is that the card game companies, right? They mainly make their money from the first market, right? We refer to when we sell cards secondary. So the first market is when they sell boxes, right? They sell cases to distributors. Distributors sells the boxes to shops, and the card shops sell, opens the boxes and lets the customers buy packs or whole boxes or a whole box. So that kind of stuff, and that's how it trickles down. That's how that chain of commerce works. So the first, so again, back to the first market, the company already made their money. They don't make money from the secondary market. They don't make money from from the card shops or the distributors. Well, they make money from the distributors because obviously they sold it to the distributors. But the point is, they make money from selling to the distributors. What happens after that doesn't matter to the card company. It shouldn't, because they already got their money, which was selling the sets, right? The cases. So with that in mind, the boxes, right? The boxes should be preset, as in they are guaranteed to have, specific cards from a specific set. Because I design card games, and I will have like my own card game company among other things that I'm doing. But these are things I'm thinking, like I want people to be able to like buy a whole booster box and get at least 1 copy of every card from the set that I design or create, or have a team design create, so that way they can play whatever they want to play. They can play any deck, and they, as an individual person, can, if I make the game where you need a maximum of 3 copies of every card, then the maximum they would have to buy would be 3 boxes to be able to have every card, playset of every card in the game, in the set, so they could play any strategy they want. So if there's like multiple archetypes in that set, well, they could play it. They could play any of those decks, any of those archetypes. If they want to trade those archetypes to somebody else, they can, right? Especially if it's somebody who maybe doesn't buy into packs or something like that, doesn't really buy in the game, like a friend or something, like, hey, let me give you this deck. These are all extra cards for another deck, another archetype, and I give it to someone, right? So that'd be kind of cool, Or people can put money together to buy 3 boxes just so they can have access to all these, all the cards in the set, and 3 copies of each, for example, since they bought 3 boxes, and then everybody pick and choose what they want to play. I want to play this deck. Okay, I want to play that deck. All right, cool. And then everybody benefits. So you can have 3 players, friends. They can pitch in money together to buy 3 boxes, and have access to multiple decks. Obviously, they'll want one deck each for themselves, especially if they're not playing the same deck. I mean, if they all want the same deck, then that's a different story. Then they have to buy more boxes to try to get the extra copies of the cards necessary to play the same deck. But most people like to be different, or play what they like, so that's an option. So it just seems weird, the idea of, instead of making it easy to get cards card game companies are making it hard to get cards, even though it don't make sense to do so, considering the fact that it doesn't boost their own individual sales, because they mainly make money through the first market, which is selling to distributors. You know, the secondary market is where like a lot of money is being circulated, but that's because of short supply. The card game company can produce as much product as they want, so they can make a lot of first market money if they print it a lot. I understand like first wave, you know, first edition supply, you know, be a short print of first edition, and then every other edition after every other printing after that obviously will be the unlimited editions, of course, so they can print a lot. So there should be a lot of supply. There should be short supply on the first edition copies of cards, right? Because you were testing the waters. You were seeing to see if the set was popular, and if there's a high demand for the set, then you print a whole bunch of the set, right? To feed the demand. That's what the unlimited is supposed to be for. Then if for some reason later on people want reprints because they want to revisit some old sets, and it's like, oh man, we want some more, like especially if it was a set that wasn't popular, like where it didn't get a big unlimited printing, then they can revisit it and reprint the old sets that weren't popular in the past, but now they have popularity. Now they're useful. People want them now. So it's like, all right, we'll reprint some old stuff and make money. And then again, that's this first market. And that's the funny thing is, because the more popular certain cards are, the more in demand the more people want certain specific cards. That's great for the company, because then the company doesn't have to do the guesswork, right? They don't have to guess what would be profitable. They know what's profitable, which is reprints. Their main money for the first market comes from reprints. That's their version of the secondary market, which is reprints. They know what's popular. They know what people want. Like, for example, most of us, want access to these SCRs, right? We want these ultimates. We want to sell Zenos and the baby Hatchiacs, right? So it'd be nice that they come up with they reprint these cards. It's understandable if they make them lower rarity, because you don't want to diminish the value of the originals, but you still want to make these cards available so people can play them, right? People want to collect, gets the original. People want to just play the damn cards, gets the reprints. Duh, common sense. And the company can make as much money as they can. It's first market, remember, first market, through selling the reprints. That is where their big money comes from, is reprints, not the booster sets and stuff. Booster sets is just to figure out what is popular. What cards are need to be what cards are worthy of being reprinted, right? Which cards are profitable to reprint. That's what I mean to say. And I'm thinking of it from the aspect of a business person, like as if I'm running Bandai. I'm not thinking of it as a player. I'm not thinking of it as a customer. As a player, as a customer, of course, I want access to certain cards. I want the cards so I can play the game. If I can't play the game, then why am I spending any money on it, right? It makes no sense to put money into a game that you can't even play, because you can't even get what you want, right? If you can't get what you want, then it's worth nothing. So that's why it's weird that card game companies want to do the random thing. It's like, no, there's different ways of doing stuff. If you want to cater to the collector's market, people who like having nice shiny things and PS grade them and flip them and sell them and scalp or whatever you want to call it, you want that, you want to cater to that. That is fine. You can do that, and you can do that in different ways. You don't need to make it hard to get these cards and give them high rarities and put them in sets and make them hard to get in the sets, right? You can just the way I like it is that make the like, I'll use a Victory Strike. Alright, so Victory Strike, you should have the version that we have, you know, the high rarity version that everybody PSA grades. Have that one, but have that separate as a, you know, as a limited thing. You know, something where you could probably get at maybe pull it out of a tournament pack or something similar to that. You know, a way to make it scarce, a way to make it very valuable because it was hard to get. That makes sense, especially if you give it as tournament pricing. Then it's even better, right? Because then it gives it the scarcity and all that good stuff, and it just feels good when you open up your packs that you won at a tournament and you get a Victory Strike, right? That'd be amazing, especially when there's only but so many supply in the world. But of that specific, you know, foiling and all that stuff, right? But there is a playable version that anyone can get their hands on that comes from a main set. That it's of a way lower rarity, you know, in comparison. That way you have a collector version of the card and then a playable version of the card, one that just anyone, you know, can you know, relatively get access to by buying it, right? Whether it be in the first market through buying boxes or secondary market through buying it from somebody, you know, individually. So stuff like that makes sense, you know, to have it that way. And then, like I said before, the whole reprint things, the fact that you can reprint, you know, a lot of cards that are a little hard to get, so people can get them, especially if you made them specific, like promotional cards, right? Whereas, like, let's say, what example can I use of something that would be nice to get reprint? Let's say Baby Hatchiak didn't come in a set. Let's say Baby Hatchiak was a promo card that you got from give me a sec. A promo card you randomly could get from going to see the, no, that wouldn't make sense. Why would Broly, why would you go watch the Broly movie and get Baby Hatchiak? I mean, it's possible. Let's use that as an example because it doesn't matter. Let's say example. So you go watch the Broly movie, you pay your ticket, you get a pack, you randomly open it, and you randomly get the Baby Hatchiak. That's a surprise, right? You're like, oh, damn, what is this? You watch the movie, you don't see the Baby Hatchiak in the movie. It's like, why did this pack have this card when the character's not even in this, in this movie? That kind of stuff. But it ultimately doesn't matter. The point is that you were able to get it, and you got it randomly. You did, you weren't trying to get it. You didn't know that you can get it until you actually got it. And then right there, it's collector value for having that specific version, right? But then of course with reprint value, right? Reprint, Bad Guy can reprint the card, and in a lower rarity. So people who want to play the card can have the card to play, but the one that was originally pulled from a pack that went to watch the movie, that could be the one for collectors. That way, again, the main point is that collectors, I have nothing against collectors. They definitely deserve to have their thing. They should be able to collect, shiny things. But it shouldn't be at the same time interfering with the supply of the people who are just trying to play the game. Especially people who are trying to play competitively, and then you got people who try to play casually. That's another thing. We got competitive players and casual players, and we're mixing, and we're not supposed to be mixing. We're supposed to be separate. You're casual because you're casual. You're playing for fun, so you're buying packs and this, that, and third, and just playing the game, enjoying the game in general. Then the people who want to play competitively, and they can play competitively and get these nice, hard to get cards, right? These random high rarity cards, and they can, make some money, right, by selling these these random, limited edition cards, promos and whatnot, cards that they won, from packs, from tournaments that they won the packs from, can sell it to the collectors. Now the collectors have what they want, which is collectible cards. The competitive players got to play competitively. Right? They got to put a lot of money into, playing the game and traveling and doing all this stuff, and they were able to get at least most of their money back, because most competitive players like that ability, the idea of, being able to make some money off of the game, because they take this game a little bit more of on the professional type of category, right, where they expect there to be money involved in it for themselves. It's not just they're trying to spend money just to spend money. They want to feel like they're getting a return on the investment per se. Then you got the collectors, who are mainly they're investors, or they collect because they just like to collect. Mainly investors, as in they collect for the purpose of the cards going up in value over time and selling it to somebody else when the price is right, as they say. But at least every category, casual, competitive, and collectors / investors, they all have their thing. The problem is that when all three of these categories are dipping into the same supply, right? The same booster sets. A booster set comes out, you got the collectors trying to get the high rarity cards from the set. You got the competitive players trying to get the good cards from the set to play competitively, which typically will be the high rarity cards that the collectors want, right? Then the casual players will well, I just want to have fun. I just want to play everything. Hey, I am a casual player, but I still want to play a Baby Hatchek or Selzen or whatever. I still want the ability to get a good card and play it, casually. Yeah, but the competitive player wants it. But then the collector wants it. So that's the thing. You got three different groups that want the same thing. For different reasons, mind you. But they want the same thing. So they're literally all trying to get into one box, one product, one supply, one cookie jar, as it were. And that creates that problem. And that's where you get all this craziness is going on in the card game community. You got people that don't even play the game. They're a lot more closely related to the collector category. And again, nothing wrong with the collectors. They're entitled to, they got money. They're entitled to buy whatever they want. And if they want cards, they want to collect cards, nice shiny cards, that is totally fine. But the company should understand those three things and make sure that all three groups of customers, all three of them are catered in a way that they all benefit without stepping on each other's toes, as it were. A casual player should be able to buy a couple packs and get some good cards for their money, right? Competitive players should definitely be able to get what they need through trades and buying, singles and boxes. That's where the secondary market comes in, right? Being able to, get stuff specifically. And then the collectors, they just want the shiny stuff. And they should be able to get it in, through certain means. Like from the competitive players, or buy the singles through the secondary market, for example. Obviously, like maybe card shops or something like that might sell singles. The company itself could sell alternate arts or high rarity versions of cards that are popular. That once was a low rarity. I'll use Victory Strike as an example. Imagine if Victory Strike wasn't shiny, wasn't an SCR. I think it's an SCR, right? It wasn't an SCR. But if it was just a rare, basic rare, foil, but rare. Alright, well then Bandai can sell through their site, or through some other method, can sell or make available, like through promo or pricing through tournaments and stuff, make available the SCR version, right? And then again, like I said, those who want it gotta pay for it, right? They want it, they gotta pay whatever it takes to get that. But everybody else who's like, well, yeah, I don't care about the high rarity card version or how shiny it is. I don't care. I don't want it for collection because I'm not a collector. I just want to play the card for this combo or strategy that I'm using in a deck. I just want to play the game. Then okay, you get the low rarity rare foil. You don't get the SCR version because you don't need it. It being SCR has nothing to do with it, you know it doesn't make it stronger of a card that it's an SCR. It still does the same thing. An SCR version of Victory Strike does the same thing a rare or even a non-foil version does. Has the same effect. So its rarity, its shininess, it's irrelevant. It's just relevant to some people, not to everybody. So for gameplay purposes, being shiny means nothing. But for collectability, yeah, shiny means something. And that's the difference. So that's why it really seems so weird that it's like these companies, you think over time they would have understood that there's three different markets. There's the casual player, people who just buy packs here and there and just play and just play for fun and trade in this and that, right? And then so their decks are not like finely tuned per se, like how a competitive player would do it. But a competitive player would be specifically honing in for specific cards, specific amounts, different ratios. They might even want to be, since they got the money for it, they want to bling bling, they want to show off, so they get the high rarity versions of cards, foil the whole deck. Hey, to each their own, they got the money, they could do that. And then you got the collectors, right, who just want the stuff that over time can be worth money through nostalgia, through scarcity, whatever. Totally fine. But it's just sad that, like, especially I see it in Dragon Ball Super, is that since they didn't reprint as much as they should, you expect them to reprint a lot. You expect them to come out with every time they come out with a new set, they automatically have a reprint set for the last set, or maybe the last two sets or something. Like, especially if it's this, or sets from the block, something like that. You get the idea. It's like, so that way they can always make sure that people who started playing the game when the new set dropped, they still can get cards from the last set, for example, because right next to the new set, you'll see the reprint set. The reprint set is the reprint of the last set that was that came out not too long ago, right? And that way, newer players can one, jump in and play the new stuff that just came out, but also still have access to old set, especially if there was cards in the old set that can be added to the new set. Just like how we got the new Android 13 cards. Well, you can use it with the old Android 13 cards and later and stuff. So you can you can mix the old with the new. So stuff like that. It just seems weird that these card game companies don't seem to do that way when they should. Especially Bandai should definitely be doing that, because it just makes sense. They want money, so their money definitely comes from the first market, which is selling boxes, right? Booster boxes, packs and stuff like that. But when they make it, they make boxes, and then those boxes goes into cases. Cases go to distributors. Distributors distribute the boxes. So that's why, to me, it's very important that people, when they buy boxes, for example, they get good stuff, and there should be a big supply of boxes. Obviously, the first editions should be a low print run, just to test out the market, just to test out the product, just to see if it's worth doing an unlimited run, to print a whole bunch more. Again, because you're trying to make sure everybody has access to it, you're trying to keep the cost of the game down, to keep the players in the game, to keep players happy, to make sure that people are not like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. It's been a month or two, and now all these cards are like $1,000 a copy, and that's ridiculous that these cards are so hard to get. Like, this is just a game. It shouldn't be this expensive to play a game, especially when we know it didn't cost this much to make the game in the first place. These cards didn't cost this much to make. More likely, it cost a penny to make a Cell Zeno, but that damn card's over $200. That's ridiculous. Literally, it costs a penny to make, but we're spending hundreds of dollars on it, and that shouldn't be the case. That's why when the game first came out, yeah, it was nice. They're cheap because, you know, the demand for the game was low because it was new. Not many people, you know, many people were playing other games, and it took a while for us to get people from other games to come over to this game, and then the supply was a little bit bigger than the demand because, again, there wasn't that many people playing it. But once the demand started growing, and since the supply didn't grow, then that's where a lot of the cards started going up. That's where Senzu beans were like $5 a pop, and growing. I remember, what's the name? Like how, like, it was a lot of money for Champa and Supreme Kais. Like, if I'm right, they're cheap now, but at the time, you know, I think they were like 50 cents at first, but they quickly shot up to like $1, $2, $3. I'm like, oh, okay, this is going up. And it's like, you know, once it hits like 2 to 3, it's like, yeah, it's, you know, I need 4 of them. So them being $2 each, for example, that's $8 just for 4 cards. And I still gotta make a 50 card deck, right? You know, and it adds up, because if I was to, let's say I spent $1 on each card, then for a 50 card deck plus the leaders, so 51, that'd be $51 if I was paying $1 for everything. But if everything that I want is suddenly $2, then I'm spending twice that much. So it's $102. It's like, damn, $102 for one deck. I could pay like, what, $10 and get a structure deck, you know, or starter deck or something. And ironically, I did get the starter structure deck and some packs. But you get my point. Is the fact is, like, damn, it will cost, you know, you know, a lot, $100, especially for, you know, anybody who doesn't make money like that, especially if you're young or you just don't have a job, so you don't really have any money. So, you know, obviously you should get a job or find some way of making money so that you could afford this hobby regardless. But at some point it shouldn't go too high to the point where it's like it'll cost you $1,000, $2,000 to build a deck. It's like, damn, that's ridiculous. $1,000, $2,000 for one deck. I understand spending $1,000, $2,000 for a whole collection of cards, like 30,000 plus cards, and you can make as many decks as you want. But to spend $1,000 to $2,000 for one deck, that's just ridiculous, and it shouldn't be the case. You know, unless your deck consists of all these collectible cards, like when I mean collectors, like collect, you know, the kind of cards that a collector would collect for, you know, collecting purposes. That would make sense that it would be that high, because you got all these collectible cards, like all these cards that would be good for the collector's market. Filling up your deck, then it makes sense it's expensive. But if you just have staples, it's just cards that are just generically good that you need definitely 4 of in order to play the game, you know, be ridiculous. Like, imagine spending, you know, $40 for a play set of Senzu Beans or something, or Dimension Magic, or any super combo, or just, you know, and that's just for 4 cards, and then you need 51 cards. So imagine spending $10 on every card. So that's 51 plus, I said 10, right? So that's like, what, $510, something like that. Yeah, $510. So you're spending almost $1,000, right? Just to make one 51 card deck, just because every card costed 10 each. And it's like, but a lot of these cards are not shiny, you know, and the list goes on and on. I remember paying a pretty hefty price for these one drop Goku and Vegeta cards. They were like between 25 to 30 bucks for each copy. Then I got them, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised they're non-foil. Now, I prefer to play non-foil. I mean, since I bought them for the purpose of playing them, you know, I prefer the cards to be non-foil for actual playability. But I was surprised that they weren't foil, because I was like, man, I spent so much. They should have been foil. But okay, you know, beggars can't be choosers, as they say sometimes. But I expect them to be foil. That was the thing. I expect them to be foil. I was a little surprised they weren't. I'm like, and they definitely would have looked badass if they were foil, because they didn't look so good being non-foil. So that was a little surprising for me. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I got them. I can use them. You know, and that's what I want to do. I want to make sure I use them, because I spent a little too much for cards that I'm not going to use. That would be very salty. So definitely will be putting those the Goku and Vegeta to good use. The fact is, it counts as both Goku and Vegeta makes them makes the card very useful, and it's one energy, and has the ability to gain an attack, has the ability to Senzu being your leader. So it's you know, it's a good card. It has some uses, you know, especially if you're trying to do some Union Patara, or you're trying to do some EX Evolve play, or you're trying to do some Union Fusion, and many other things. It has a lot of use. It being both Goku and Vegeta has a lot of uses, especially in this game, since they tend to cater a lot to Goku and Vegeta, and Saiyans in general, but definitely Goku and Vegeta. So this definitely is a good card that will hold its value, playability wise, in the long run. So it being not shiny and costing a lot, it's worth it. It's worth it. With those details of it, it will still hold some playability value over time. But let's see what else. Talked about reprints, like how that's their main moneymaker is reprints. Starter decks, especially putting reprints in starter decks is nice. Like really useful cards, especially if it. I'm not saying that they haven't done it a little bit, because I noticed there's some starter decks that do have certain reprints that are good to have, because it makes sense, since the deck plays a certain way. You do need certain staple reprints, or reprints of staples. So, like, for example, if they made a green deck that does hand control, it makes sense that they have Rebrand reprinted in there, right? That would make sense. Most people would want to play Rebrand with a green leader in a hand, destruction deck. So it would make sense that Rebrand gets reprinted in that type of structure deck, for example. So that makes sense. Or if they made a structure deck where they made a new Rebrand leader or something like that, like they made a Rebrand leader, and because I'm right, yeah, she doesn't even have a leader if I'm right. So, but let's say they made a oh, no, she does, right? I think, yeah, she does. Because in my mind it looks like right there's a Rebrand leader. Anyway, point is, let's say they make a new one. So they make a new Rebrand leader, and yeah, there's a Rebrand leader. I can see her in my mind right now. Anyway, so they make a new one, and some new cards to support the maidens, and obviously reprinting some of the old maidens would make sense to make it easy, so for somebody to be able to play the new maiden stuff, and automatically have access to the old stuff. Instead of trying to find the old stuff, they could just buy this product, the starter deck, and will have not only the new stuff, the new support, the new stuff that supports the archetype, but automatically have access to the old stuff. Now, if they want to get the higher rarity versions, or they just want the original versions of these cards from the original sets, then well, that's up to them. They'll spend the time and the money to go try to get the original versions. But for those who don't want to do that, well, you still can play the strategy. You still can have your reprinted rebrand if you know, instead of, you know, the original higher rarity version, you can get the low rarity version. Same thing as they made a blue deck and put a whole bunch of low rarity you know, non-foil Obunis, for example. You know, for those who want the card and play the strategy to play it and all that stuff, can do so. But if they want to bling it, as they say, then go get the original high rarity and pay the high rarity price. So many things that they could be doing properly. These are just thoughts that I had. It's like, if I was running Bandai, or if I was running a card game, these are things that I would do. These are things I would consider, because I understand there's 3 different markets. There's the casual player that they just want to have fun. They just want to play the game, and sometimes they don't want to spend a lot of money just to play the game for fun. And that's fine. They shouldn't have to be forced in some shape, way, or form by a low supply of cards, or especially if there's a low supply, that means it'll be hard for casual players to get access to them. Well, one, it makes it hard for everybody, because if the supply is low and you have 3 different groups trying to get into this one supply, that's what creates the problem, because you got everybody putting their hands in the same cookie jar, but there's only so many cookies in the jar. So that's why you got to print a specific way that caters to all 3 groups. And that's the way I would do it, because I take that into consideration. I'm like, yes, there's a collector's market, there's a competitive market, and then there's a casual market. I need to cater to all 3. I need to make sure that, not caters per se, but I mean take all 3 to account and make sure that they all have, you know, what they need. Because let's say if the casual market outnumbers the competitive and the collector's market, then it makes sense to print a lot, for example, and make it really easily accessible to play certain cards. You know, to play cards, cards in multiple sets, because you have a casual audience, so they'll be the ones buying the bulk, literally the bulk of your products, your game, because, you know, they're playing casually, and you want to make sure that they can, since they're casual, they're not the big spenders, they're not the whales of the game, right? So you shouldn't expect them to spend a lot. You expect them to spend a little bit, enjoy the game here and there, casually. That's the point of casual. Casual does not mean they're addicted like crackheads or something to your game. They play this casually. They play it once in a while whenever they got nothing better to do, type thing. Or they just, again, they play it for fun, not for anything else. So they don't need every card that you print. They don't need to chase things. That whole idea of like, oh, there's chase cards. It's like, who's chasing them? Because it's not the casual players. Casual players just don't want to chase. They want to be given. They want you to give them cards for them to play and enjoy the game. They don't want to go chase and look for stuff. The ones who are going to chase or look should be the collectors, and they can look all they want. And then when they find what they're looking for, then, you know, they get what they want because they can afford it. The competitive players need to be able to, you know, get the stuff they need, whether they trade with the casual players or among the competitive players. Ironically, most competitive players tend to borrow from each other anyway. Not every competitive player buys into every set. Sometimes they'll buy like certain like staples, stuff that they know they're going to use all the time, and then they'll buy like a couple obscure, you know, tech cards here and there for like certain archetypes that comes out in a new set. but they usually rely on other people. That's why we have teams and stuff, of groups of people who come together to help each other out, to make sure that if somebody wants to play a certain strategy, everybody in the team, in the group or whatever, helps out that person, obtain the stuff that they need, either through borrowing, trading, selling, whatever, So there's that, the community aspect within that category. But then you got, again, like I said, the collectors, they just want specific cards. The shinier the better, the rarer the better, right, and all that good stuff. So it's like you gotta make everything work. These are the things I consider, if I, when I put out my own games and stuff, that I want to do it like that, because I want to make sure that everybody can enjoy it. I want the collectors to be happy with their shiny cards, but at the same time, I don't want people who want to play the game, especially casual or competitive, to miss out on cards just because I want to make the collectors happy. Just because I want to make people who only... Well, there's two types of collectors, right? There's the ones who collect because they actually want to have the cards, because they actually like the cards. They like the nostalgia. They like the ability to look at the collection and be like, yo, I got these cards. These cards look so cool. I have to own it because this card looks so badass, so I have to own it. All right, cool. Then you got the ones who collect for value, right? Collect for the purpose of someday this will be worth money and I'll sell it, right? Investors. So there's collectors and investors in the same category, right? So with that in mind, it's like, yeah, you don't want to cater to them and be like, oh, you gotta make sure they're happy, make sure that their cards are worth money. But why though? Their cards are gonna be worth money regardless. They're gonna be worth money because somebody's gonna want the versions of the cards they have, in the future, if someone cares, right? But it shouldn't be like we gotta make them worth money now by deliberately making it where there isn't extra copies of the cards available. So that's why these cards are extremely expensive now, when now it doesn't matter for when it comes to when it comes to investors or collectors. It's more about the future, not about now. So now the cards shouldn't be worth that much. Right now the cards should be cheap, right, and easy to get. And in the future it could be harder to get, because in the future the game would have changed to the point where those cards are not as important for the game in the future, because the game has changed so much over time. But for nostalgia purposes, for the fact that these cards weren't printed to oblivion, as they say, they were printed a couple times for like maybe 2 to 3 years, but after that, you stop making newer copies of the cards. That after a while, yeah, scarcity, especially if a lot of the cards start over time, get damaged, lost, wear and tear, all that stuff, and and then the supply gets shorter after that. Then by default, just by time, these cards gain value because of their scarcity through natural means, not an inflated mean by the company just deliberately printing a few supply, and it's like, wait, there's only 100 Selzeno in the world? Oh shit, these cards gotta be $1,000 a piece. Like, damn, that's ridiculous. Shouldn't create scarcity by deliberately short printing. That is bullshit. But at the same time, I wouldn't care if that's what if they short print, high rarity versions, the Selzeno, as long as they gave us low rarity Selzenos that they print a whole bunch of. That will make up for it, because then the people who want the high rarity and like the scarcity, that there's only but so many supply of the Selzeno, for example, fine, have that, do your little collector investor thingy, flip it, trade it or whatever, do what y'all want to do. I got no problem with that, as long as I can still have my Selzeno that I could play and have fun and enjoy the game with, play competitively, casually, whatever. And maybe one day when I feel like it, I'll go grab one of them, high rarity, Selzenos, PSA 10 grade and stuff like that, and have me a nice collectible one, because like, oh, nostalgia. I remember when I used to play this card a lot. You know, not this one with this rarity, obviously, but I played one like it, a lower rarity, but I still played the card. You know, and have that nostalgia factor, you know, and have it that way. That's the way it should be. Because one of the things I like about Yu-Gi-Oh! That they did a while back was the Ultimate Rare thing. That was one of the best things they did, to my opinion. Then they did Ghost Rare, which was also badass, and they did some other stuff. But it was the idea that they took a card that was a low rarity, that was easy to get, and then they made high rarity versions of them. I love that. Ultimate Rare was one of those things, but they started doing stuff later where they took like common cards and turned them into super, you know, foil versions or secret rares or ultra. Like they start putting them in a lot of the higher rarity stuff, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. Because now if I want a high rarity version of a card that used to be common, as in used to not be high rarity, used to be not foil, now I could get a foil version. That's awesome. And then Magic, you know, does that where they sometimes when you're opening up packs, you might get a foil land or a foil common. Like you'll get foil of certain stuff. Dragon Ball Super, they have done that a little bit. They do have foil and non-foil versions of cards. I wouldn't be surprised there is foil versions of the Goku and Vegeta negate. It's just that the person, the people who sold me, because I bought from 4 different sellers, they sold me, the non-foil versions. Because I wouldn't be surprised there are 4 versions of the card. I know there's the SPR version. I know there's the alternate art version, but that's way more pricier than the ones I bought. But you would expect, for how much I paid, that I would get at least foil versions if there was foil versions of the cards. But instead I got the non-foils. But oh well. I'm not complaining, because I'd rather have non-foils for, actual gameplay, so I can actually play them. I'm not trying to collect them, I'm trying to play them. But the price that I paid, I did expect them to be foil. That's all I'm saying. And that'd be the end of this video. Audio podcast.